Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's forum. I'm Suzanne Schulte, here in two roles, President of the Defense Forum Foundation and Chair of the North Korea Freedom Coalition. And I'm going to start out by making two brief announcements. The first is, this is for those of you with congressional staff. We are right now gathering messages to broadcast to North Korea on free North Korea radio. We gather messages from members of Congress twice a year, once in the new year and once for Korean Liberation Day, which all the Koreans know, North Koreans and South Koreans, is August 15th. It's one of the few holidays that both North and South Korea both celebrate. And we've been doing this program since 2014. The North Korean defectors love it because it's the heartfelt words of senators and congressmen for the United States of America that really care about the North Korean people. It really punches into the propaganda of the regime that tells them that we're their enemy and we hate them. So the defectors loved it so much that we have done it every year. And anybody with a congressional staff, Johnny's got a packet for you if you're interested in participating in this program. We've had widespread support from both Democrats and Republicans. There's a list of members that have participated, but I heartily encourage you to be a part of it if you'd like to join it, because we believe the truth will set them free, and Free North Korea Radio's motto is the truth will set them free. And then a second quick announcement for congressional staff. We will be organizing another congressional fact-finding mission to the Western Sahara, to the Sahrawi refugee camps. I noticed that Jonathan Halpern's here. He was on one of our trips from Deputy Chief of Staff for Congressman Sanford Bishop, and I know he really enjoyed it and found it very, very meaningful. But one of the things about Western Sahara and Korea is there's a lot of similarities. They're two divided countries where families are separated. They're one country separated by the DMZ. Western Sahara is separated by the Burn. The people that are living under Moroccan-occupied Western Sahara, the Sahrawis, make the top 10 list of the world's most persecuted people, just like the people living under the Kim Jong-un regime make the top 10 list of the world's most persecuted people. So I'm really honored to just highlight a VIP in the audience who is the Sahrawi Republic Ambassador, Maulud Saeed. So it's good to see you, Maulud. Now, for our program today, it's really a wonderful honor to introduce you to these amazing, brilliant young North Korean escapees who tasted freedom and have now dedicated their lives to bringing that same freedom to their homeland. They're absolutely brilliant, and I want to maximize the time that they're going to speak for you. So you should all have a cheat sheet so that you have their bios, that we have handed those out. Johnny handed those out for you so that you can know a little bit about them, because I want them to speak from their heart about what they want you to know about North Korea and what their ideas are for bringing about freedom in North Korea. You can tell from their bios, every one of them is dedicating their lives to preparing for when North Korea is free, to help build that nation, to build freedom and prosperity in North Korea. And then also, you have on the tables, there's little pieces of paper there. Those are for Q&A. Because what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce the order they will go in, and they will come one right after the other. So you get to hear from all of them. And then, if you have a question, you can write them down on a piece of paper and hand it up to me up here, and we'll have time for a Q&A. I know everybody's on a tight schedule, so I'm going to jump right in here now. And the first person you're going to hear from is a brilliant young man, Hanung Lee. He'll be the first speaker. He is the host of this delegation. Right after Hanung Lee, you'll hear from Ansuk Jang, and I got the chance to hear her speak Monday at the Captive Nations Summit. She did a wonderful job. Then you'll hear from Hyang Kim. I got to hear her Sunday at the North Korean Defectors Day. And then Jung Chol Lee will go right after them. And then you will go to Sung Jae Yang, and then Wuku Kim, Jun Huk Hyun. And then we have two people that have to remain anonymous. They're going by the name Joe and Kevin will be the last two speakers, and then we'll open up for Q&A. So with that, I'm going to turn this program over to dear colleague Hanung Lee. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for hosting us, and it's truly an honor to present our group to you. And it's always our dream to share ideas with you and then, U.S. policymakers and the future policymakers. So thank you for, having us and joining us today. My name is Hanung Lee. I was born and raised in North Korea. I was, I would say once I lived in the life most North Korean people never dreamed of. I was educated at elite schools in North Korea. I served in North Korean Special Force, and I worked. I graduated at Chinese college studying economics and international trade. After that, I worked for the North Korean the trading sector, foreign trading sector, which is closely tied to the regime's money and hard currency operations. By all that count, I was on the track to be a loyal servant of the regime. But everything changed after 2013, the unprecedented purge of Jang Song-taek, Kim Jong-un's uncle, and hundreds of officials. I realized that no one, not even a powerful person, was truly safe. The fear I had buried for years came to surface. I saw the inner workings of system built not on loyalty or public service, but on terror and betrayal. That was the moment I made the hardest decision of my life. I escaped. In late 2014, I left everything behind, my career, my friends, my hometown, to seek freedom. And after years of hiding and hardship, I arrived in the United States. But even here, I couldn't forget the people I left behind, or young escapees I met who felt lost, voiceless, disconnected from the world of leadership and diplomacy. That's why I established North Korean Young Leaders Assembly. People often ask me why this program. And my answer is simple, because freedom alone is not enough. Escaping a dictatorship gives you safety, but becoming leader gives you purpose. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, young escapee joined our program. She had never been to Washington, never spoken to lawmakers, never imagined her story could matter. But on one quiet afternoon at the White House, she sat across from a U.S. policymaker, told him what it felt like to live in silence for 20 years. He didn't interrupt. He didn't look away. He listened. That moment changed her. She told me afterwards, for the first time, I didn't feel like a survivor. I feel like a citizen. That's what North Korean Young Leaders Assembly is about. Each year, we bring together a small group of North Korean escapees, young people who have risked everything for life. 1 week in D.C. and New York, they met with policymakers, diplomats, human rights leaders, young change makers. They share their stories not just to remember the past, but to shape the future of free and unified Korea. Well, our mission is not political, it's human. We believe that former victims of dictatorship can become future defenders of free democracy. And if we build a peaceful future for the Korean Peninsula, we must invest in the voice who know both tyranny and freedom. That's what North Korean Young Leaders Assembly stands for. Before I conclude my speech, I'd like to offer one policy recommendations. That's my specialty. It's my specialty, sorry. All of us here are well aware of the sanctions imposed on North Korea, and I agree with the common view that China is the largest loophole in those sanctions. But when you ask me who is the second biggest loophole, some may say it's Russia, but I believe the answer is far more uncomfortable. It's South Korea, one of the America's closest ally. According to South Korean media reports, between 1992 to 2017, South Korea provided North Korea with more than $10 billion in financial support. I don't have a slideshow today, but the data comes directly from the statistics released by the South Korean government itself. Let's not forget, during the first inter-Korean summit in 2000 between Kim Dae-jung and Kim Jong-il, 500 million in cash was transferred to North Korea to make that happen. As a result, Kim Dae-jung won the Nobel Peace Prize, but people in the Korean Peninsula were left with the growing threat of nuclear weapons. Former President Moon Jae-in met with the North Korean dictator 3 times, even handing over the USB drivers to Kim Jong-un in person. To this day, no one knows exactly what was on that USB. It could be contained sensitive information, such as access to hundreds of millions of dollars in cryptocurrency, submarine technology, shipbuilding techniques, surveillance drone designs, or even U.S. origin technologies. We simply don't know. Even the current president of South Korea, Lee Jae-myung, during his time as a governor, paid $8 million to North Korea for his visit. This case is still under investigation in courts. While the United States and the international community have worked hard to uphold the sanctions and hold North Korean dictatorship accountable, these loopholes have undermined years of efforts. What even more outrageous is that when Chinese companies violate sanctions, they are penalized by the U.S. government. But when South Korean companies or politicians do the same, they face zero consequences simply because they are the ally. Even if they harm U.S. interests or obstruct the U.S. diplomatic efforts they spare, this has to be changed. There should be no exception in enforcing North Korean sanctions, even if it's the president of the allied country. If they violate the U.S. interest or international norm, they should be subject to indictment under the U.S. law or international law as a sanction target. There cannot be 2 sets of rules. Only when we apply the law equally can we truly uphold the principles of the sanctions and ensure they have the intended effect. That is all my speech, and thank you so much for listening.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming here to hear our voices, and thank you for your heartfelt support for, North Korean people. And today, I just want to share and focus on gender-based violence inside of the North Korea and the situation in detention facilities inside of North Korea, because I experienced those things. This year marks 80 years of division on the Korean Peninsula. But this is just not a number, but it represents decades of suffering for North Korean people, of loss of their human dignity and widespread of human rights abuses. So far, over 34,000 of North Korean defectors have settled in South Korea, but still 25 million of North Korean people reside inside of the North Korea under brutal dictatorship. I was born in Haesan, North Korea, and I lived in there age at 14. And Haesan is a small city, but it is known as a major smuggling hub because it located on the border with China. So people engaged in the smuggling to survive and treating it as an alternative business model. In North Korea, men are required to go to their state-assigned workplaces. If they don't, they face punishment. However, once women get married, they are no longer obligated to attend workplaces. This system led to a situation where women became more active in economic activities than men. After the Great Famine, late 1990s, the North Korea government stopped providing public food rations. Hence, women, they were pushed to become breadwinner in North Korea and taking responsibility for supporting their families. Since 99% of the North Korean trade markets, known as a Jangmadang, are run by women, and women had to negotiate with the officials, government officials, which is, of course, most of them were men. And it was common for women to be forced into sexual favors and bribery in order to continue their businesses. So while the Jangmadang increased the involvement for women in economic activities, but it also has increased their exposure to sexual abuses just to keep their business over there. My decision to defect in 2013 was driven by deep desire for freedom that I inspired by K-dramas and education opportunities and ability to choose my own future regardless my political background. Between 2012 and 2013, I tried to escape 3 times, and I was caught twice and spent several months in detention facilities, in various detention facilities, including detention center in Yangon province and labor training camp. Since I was a minor and my father bribed the guard, I was spared from physical abuses, but I witnessed a harsh reality inside of the detention center. We were forced to remain in fixed posture, which is cross the leg all day, and if we moved, we were punished. Even a slight movement, such as stretching, was unacceptable. I was detained during the winter time. In Hasan, the winter temperatures average between -20 to 30 Celsius degree. In such condition, every time my cellmates returned from an investigation, their clothes were torn apart and their faces were brushed from the torture and beatings. When I was taken to investigation room, I saw only one thing, which was wooden stick. And I thought to myself at the moment, if I were an adult woman, if my father had not bribed the guard, what would happen to me? I don't even want to imagine. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, North Korea has strengthened its control inside of North Korea. And they made a stronger control over ideology by making exclusive regulations and punishment system. This implies that human rights abuses at detention facilities are extremely likely to have degraded. Consistent observation and investigation is necessary to specially and objectively assess the human rights in detention facilities. Thus, Korea these days, they try to project themselves as a normal state to the international community, and I believe that this gives us a small window, which is an opportunity to push North Korea to taking real human rights action. In this regard, I really appreciate the international communities and the U.S. government effort to solving this problem. Most crucially, I believe that Jangmadang generation, which is young generation like us in here, they are the catalyst for the change in North Korea. They have seen another way of life, and they are more open, and they are resilient, and hold the potential to shape the new Korea future. They represent an initial condition that can shape a new path. Hence, we should focus on the young generation inside and outside of North Korea, and we should collaborate with them. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for giving opportunity to share my story. My name is Hyang Kim. I escaped from North Korea in 2012 when I was 19. Now I am in the States pursuing my master's degree as a Fulbright scholar. And today I want to share my story with you to escape from a hopeless country. When I was in elementary school, I had a dream to be a novelist for the first time. At that moment, I was deeply fascinated by Japanese detective novels, which triggered my desire to want to study Japanese, to study about more Japanese novels. For this reason, I decided to go to language school at the middle school level, but I couldn't continue my education even though I was always ranked number 1 in the class because my family couldn't afford for the bride for my admission for the school. I was profoundly furious and offended by the school system, which is causing my cognitive dissonance. This was the first time that I realized the truth is in disparity with what I experienced and what I have been taught. This is my first motive to be one of the North Korean, to be out of the North Korea. The second reason is because of the famine caused by the currency reform in 2009. Overnight, people lost their savings and sucked deeper into the black hole of poverty. Inflation soared uncontrollably. I still vividly remember seeing the old banknotes floating like snowflakes in the marketplace. My family was not spared. The new currency quickly became worthless, and we were left to starve. Lying on the cold floor, I thought that escape was only way out of North Korea. If I were going to die anyway, I would rather to die while moving forward than fade away in stillness. So I tried to escape from North Korea for 4 times, and I caught 5 Chinese police at the 3rd time, right after I crossed the Yalu River, because I was born in northern part of North Korea, just across the next to the Yalu River. Finally, in 2012, I made China safely. So, what was life like in China? Admittedly, I was no longer starving, but I learned the true meaning of saying people without a country are treated worse than stray dogs. Can you imagine the feeling of being sold by yourself? I was a victim of human trafficking to China. The word humiliation doesn't even begin to describe it. At the age of 19, I often watched the groups of university students at my age walk past. I could endure the jealousy, but what broke me was hearing people joke without shame about how some bachelors in their village had brought a North Korean bride for a certain price. They laughed as they told stories of women who were beaten for trying to escape, or how the woman's leg was broken so she could never learn a way again. Each story felt like a warning to me. Try it, and you will suffer the same. I couldn't speak up, and I couldn't fight back. And the shame of my powerlessness often left me sobbing into my pillow until sleep took over. Even when I gave birth to a beautiful baby, I felt more trapped than ever. I had no safe place for my child, no protection to offer, because I was completely black people there. My son was also black as me. Today I stand firm and grow stronger thanks to unwavering support of countless people who believed in me. But I have not forgotten the 13-year-old girl I once was. In North Korea, countless children are still seeking for the spark of hope. In China, more than 10,000 North Korean women remain trapped in the human rights abuse disguised as family. In 2017, South Korean news media reported that 20% of them are being forced into online sex work. In addition, at least 10,000 children in China are living without birth certificates because their mothers are undocumented. Those children, the vast majority of whom live in poverty and denied access to education. If those women were granted a legal status in China, their children could attend school and thrive. Thus, young lives could one day become bridge of understanding and linking the world in international relations to make better world. Today, I strongly urge the enactment of a law requiring China to recognize North Koreans as refugees. They deserve the legal right to live safely and be protected under the law. Your attention and voice can shape the policy that becomes a beacon of hope for North Korean escapees. I strongly believe you have the power to help save their lives. Until the day they find the freedom and reclaim their dignity, please stand with them. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Hello. Thank you for your speech, Ms. Kim. And her story is our stories because, we are all the victims by the regime. Hi, my name is Jung Chol Lee, and I escaped from North Korea in 2007 when I was 15. After my mom left me, when I was 8. And I came to South Korea in 2007, and I used to work as a radio producer for the Voice of North Koreans at UMG, Unification Media Group, and Daily NK, which is one of the biggest NGOs that dedicated to the right to know of North Koreans. And currently, I am studying my master's degree as a Fulbright scholar in Texas. And thank the U.S. for making my dream come true. My story, like I said, my story is going to be also similar to our friends' stories because, like I said, we are all victims. But I will talk kind of differently. Do you know how North Korean refugees in China? Do you know how their human rights are violated even now? Like Jihyang said, the Chinese government doesn't accept our refugee status. Yeah. And that's why if they catch us, they forcibly repatriate us to North Korea. And I think that is a serious problem because of that, many North Koreans like me, we have to hide in China on the journey to South Korea. And that's why the severe human rights violations like human trafficking happens because we have no freedom and right in China. If we are, even though we are violated when it comes to human rights, we cannot report to police because, they also catch us. So when I was working as a radio producer, I also interviewed some North Korean refugees in South Korea. And she was also sold to a Chinese guy once by a broker because the broker lied to her, I will get you to South Korea, but no, he sold her to Chinese guy family. But the thing is that the broker reported her to the police again. And when she ran away from her, the former Chinese guy house, he catched her again and sold her again to make more money. And which is, I think, tragedy. And also, I also interviewed a guy from North Korea, and he's also was in China, and his human rights were also violated severely because he and his mother actually worked for a Chinese house, but the Chinese husband beat his mother, and he as a son he wanna fight against the guy, but he couldn't because if we could fight against him, maybe he also will report him to the police. And this kind of human rights violations is still ongoing in China. And my family was not exception. When we were in China in around 2007, our broker also threatened us. Hey, you should give me more money to help you to go to South Korea. But we didn't have money, because we got nothing from North Korea, because many North Korean refugees, they couldn't bring a picture of their families. And he threatened us if you don't give money more, I will report to you. That's why my family ran away from him, and luckily, if we found a pastor, Korean pastor at the time, and he let us stay at his church for 2 months. And then he helped us to go to Laos and Thailand and came to South Korea. After I came to South Korea, I used to work as a radio producer for 3 years. And I worked for North Korean human rights and unification of Korea. Because that was something natural. I mean, as a person who is kept from North Korea, and as a person who cannot go to my hometown again, and as a person who knows the life of North Koreans, I cannot just ignore, their lives. That's why I decided to work for the voice of North Koreans, whose voices are unvoiced. Then I know, I believe the power of information because, information can make North Koreans to transform to the regime to change, or they can find, freedom with their power, by information. And this is true because the North Korean regime also fears the power of information. Because they know if people have access to the information, they know the people will think the regime has been lying to them, North Korea is paradise on earth, but which was not, It was actually close to hell, I think. It's my opinion. Then, for example, in 2020, North Korea enacted the law on the elimination of reactionary thought and culture. This means they try to control the consumption of freedom or foreign content by North Koreans. They have to crack down. And in 2021, North Korean regime also enacted the law on guaranteeing youth education. Sounds like they want to help, educate North Koreans, right? But it's not. They also try to control the consumption of young people in North Korea. Do you know why young North Koreans, they are more likely to consume foreign information? Yeah, they are young. Yeah, they are young. Like American founding fathers, or when they wrote the draft of declaration, they were like 19 or 20, right? And also North Koreans, the young North Koreans, they got nothing from the regime. For example, I was born in 1992 when the Great Famine, so-called Algiers March, happened in the early 1990s and ended in the early 2000s, but I think it's still ongoing, given the situation. Anyway, and because they got nothing from the regime since the public, the PDS, public distribution system didn't work, they have no reason to be loyal to the regime. Yeah, that's why they are more like, hey, okay, why don't we consume the information from China and South Korea? Why not? And I also, when I was in North Korea, I also watched South Korean dramas and Chinese dramas through kind of smuggling from China. And because of the foreign information, I already knew even China and South Korea, they are better than North Korea when it comes to living. I thought at least if I go to China, I don't have to worry about my hunger. Yeah, and that's why after my mom contacted me after 7 years, when she asked me, why don't we live in China together again? And I said yes, yeah, because in North Korea, there is no reason to stay. Yeah. And lastly, I want to say something shortly. A lot of North Korean human rights organizations in South Korea, they work for North Korean human rights. And thankfully, they got funds from the US, like NED and USAID. I don't want to go deep into that issue, but what I want to say is that thanks to the help of the US, thanks to the legacy of the US that has been working for the freedom of the world, a lot of North Koreans, their voice could be heard to people. So I think even though North Korean human rights are not related to your work, I know you are busy, you guys are busy, but just by any chance, if you have work related to those issues, I also hope you guys pay attention to North Korean human rights. Because I think making freedom and free people in North Korea, I think that also aligns with the national security of the U.S. Look at South Korea. South Korea has achieved a miracle economic development from a poor country. And even nowadays, South Korea is one of the strongest countries that has the strongest resilience for democracy, and which is a great ally to the U.S. That's why I hope friends like you will help South Korea at the same time the life of North Koreans. Thank you.
Is it okay? Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Sung Jae. Yeah. I will say my story and my voice. I start. I went first high school in North Korea that is the best in each state. When I was in middle school, I slept at 12 a.m. and wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the first high school. I studied every day for a period of 2 years, except for sleeping and move time. I was able to go to first high school through such effort, but I was not allowed to go to the next stage. So I couldn't go to university. The reason is my mom. My mom was in South Korea. When I was preparing to go to university, this became the basis for me to receive special attention from the North Korean government. North Korea is preparing people. North Korea is preventing people who have the potential to rebel against the system from entering society or power through the crime of association. I am victim of such this system. I loved my country, my land, where I grew. So I wanted to add a little bit to this and become a useful person. Even in the frustration of going to university, such a mind was not broken. I wanted to dedicate my youth to my country, so I tried to join North Korean Army. However, even that was a luxury and achievable dream for me, who receiving special attention from the North Korean government. I realized that at that moment I was useless to this country now or from the beginning. The special interest in me was to give me. I was just a surplus person there. I dedicated to give up. I decided to give up the North Korea that given me and came to South Korea. In the end, I am going to university and studying. I do everything for myself here. My effort that the country refused to do it will be used for my individual and my future. What I hope is that because of the crime of sedition, I can't even realize my dream. In the end, those things that end up wasting life no longer happen in my hometown, my land. In the past, the Korea asked the United States, the free country, to protect itself from Japan, but United States has already signed a gasrotect agreement with Japan. The United States promised to take the Philippines and Japan to take South Korea. No, just Korea. So the United States didn't help the Korea, a small country. I have learned from history that great powers do not care about the interest of the weaker countries and do not do anything that does not serve them. And great powers didn't give up their interest for the weaker countries. Despite despite knowing it, I'm obscurely begging you, please do not stop helping them. You struggle to protect the people in my land and from the dictator of North Korea. The United States, as a leader of the free world, should not turn a blind eye to the weaker who struggle for freedom. Oh, sorry. I would rather appeal to the mind that the Polish proposal. I know you guys are the brain that move America. Even if it's not, no, you will definitely lead the United States in the future. So please don't give up your interest in North Korea and the people who live there. The United States will not try to solve the North Korean problem at a loss. If you are interested, at least you will not leave the North Korean issue alone to reap the benefits. Please remember me, please remember us, please remember North Korean is KP. Thank you for listening.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hanung Kim. It is a true honor to stand here. I'm not just a North Korean defector. I'm standing here as a voice for millions of people still trapped under one of the most oppressive regimes in the world. While I could speak to you today about increasing information access into North Korea or the need for stronger international cooperation, I have chosen to focus on one urgent issue, the need to support North Korean defectors. By sharing my personal story, I want to show you that your decisions and your voice in this room can save lives and reach those still living in darkness. I was born in a small city called Haesan, near the Chinese border. I was the only child in a working-class family. From early childhood, I was taught to worship the Kim family like gods. At school, memorizing the revolutionary history of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il was more important than learning math or science. In winter, I was sent to dig potatoes in frozen fields. In spring, I gathered firewood in the mountains. Many days throughout the year were spent in forced labor, while hunger and fear became my daily routine. When I was 17, my father tried to escape to China to find food for me and my mother. But he was caught in China, possibly repatriated and brutally beaten in a North Korean prison, so he died there. I still remember working for 5 days with my uncle to reach the small mountain train station where his body had been returned. My father, his body frozen, swollen from the beatings, was the most heartbreaking proof of the regime's cruelty. As we dug a grave in the frozen ground, I asked myself, what kind of country cannot even feed its people? Where is the justice for someone who dies without a trial? And that's when I found the answer. North Korea is a place where even asking why is a crime. It is not just a dictatorship. It is a system that erases human dignity and crushes every basic freedom. So at the age of 22, I chose to escape. After arriving in South Korea, I worked hard for 3 years, saving money to rescue my mother. Eventually, I re-entered North Korea at a great personal risk. I stayed there for 22 days and was chased by North Korean agent people, managing to escape again with her. That was 6 years ago. I was incredibly lucky. Most are not. In North Korea, people are arrested, tortured, and even executed simply for watching a foreign film or questioning the regime. Entire families, 3 generations, are sent to political prison camps. Women face horrific abuse, especially during a escape or in China, where they are often trafficked. These are not easily, these are crimes by the state. But there is hope, and you can be part of that hope. Please support programs that help North Korean refugees restore with dignity. Expand the opportunities for education and leadership. Many of us are ready to become global advocates for human rights and freedom. We just need a chance. Back then, I risked my life to escape North Korea, driven by a deep hunger to learn and desperate desire for freedom. Today I am finally able to study freely, just as I once dreamed. And now I stand here before you at the United States Congress. But in North Korea, there are still countless young people, just like I once was, longing to learn, longing to live, and waiting for their chance. The issue of North Korean human rights is not a distant, abstract problem. It is directly connected to peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula and to global security. If we remain silent, we are complicit. But if we act through policy, founding, and diplomacy, real change is possible. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope this moment is valuable for you all guys, and then I will start by my speech. Let me briefly introduce myself. I was born in North Korea, and then after finishing high school there, I escaped with my family in 2013. Now I live in South Korea and then studying at Kookmin University's Graduate School of Legal Affairs. My research focuses on how we can respond to legal problems that may happen after Korean unification. Today, I'd like to share one important policy suggestion that is must prepare in advance for the legal and economic problems that will come when South and North Korea try to combine their economic systems. Many people believe that once unification happens, the two markets will work together naturally, but I don't agree with it. When capitalism and a planned economy suddenly meet, big confusion and serious problems can happen. Let me give you a simple example. After unification, who wants the land that people lived on in North Korea? How can they prove it? If there are no clear laws or systems, market transactions will stop, investors will leave, and illegal businesses and corruption will grow. This is not just theory. It really happened in East Germany after unification. North Korea's situation is even more closed and underdeveloped, so we must prepare even more carefully. So, what kind of preparations do we need? First, we need to design basic economic laws, such as contract law, property rights, company laws, and labor law. North Korea doesn't have this, or they are very different from South Korea's system. We cannot simply apply South Korean law right away. Second, having laws is not enough. We also need people and systems to carry them out. Public officials, local governments, and the North Korean people need to education to understand what contracts, taxes, and the market economy really means. Third, South Korea cannot do this alone. We need international cooperation. Organizations like the World Bank, IMF, and UNDP must work together with North Korea to make plans and actions before unification happens. That's why I want to suggest a clear laws for the U.S. Congress. So first, funding for research on what kind of laws and systems we need after unification. Help South Korea and global organization create a joint economic integration roadmap, build international cooperation systems for long-term support. To sum up, unification may be quick politically, but economic and legal integration will take time. If we don't prepare now, we may face new conflicts, economic problems, unfairness, and social distrust. That's why this moment is so important. By making legal and system plans now and working together, South Korea, the U.S., and international organizations, we can build a foundation for a peaceful and successful unification. Thank you.
Wow. Well, thank you. You guys were outstanding, and I know that some of you are just learning your English, but everybody spoke in English for you all, so let's give them all. You should all stand up. We'll give you some applause. Now we're going to open up for some Q&A, and this is how we're going to do it. But I'm going to have Johnny come up, and I've got some questions here that they want to ask. So Johnny's going to do the questions in Korean so that any one of them that want to take the questions, then Hyung will direct whoever wants to answer them. The first question is about the information flow. They want to know, is there any contact since they had access to outside information, were exposed to outside information? What's the situation now? Has the regime been able to completely isolate the North Korean people, which has been obviously the goal since COVID for Kim Jong-un to seal the border, and the current South Korean government isn't helping, but that's the first question. So, Johnny, if you want to ask that, just say it in Korean, and if anybody wants to, so it's clear what we're asking.
첫 번째 질문은 이제 외부 정보 유입에 대해서 질문을 드리겠습니다. 현재 북한의 내부 상황을 보면 외부 정보가 많이 들어가서 김정은 정권이 존재하지만 많은 사람들이 외부 정보에 관심을 가지고 조금 더 알아가고 싶어하는 그런 분위기인 것 같은데 외부 정보 유입으로 인해서 현재 북한 내부에 어떤 변화가 있었는지에 대해서 궁금합니다.
Don't be shy. Anybody who's familiar with our people, are they able to contact people inside like they used to?
So thank you again.
You can speak in English fine, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay, yeah. So like I said, I used to work on a radio producer for the radio program, and we send information to North Korea through radio and USB and other, storage usages, devices, and we also conduct like M&E, like a measure and evaluation program, each month, because we have to give feedback to our programs whether to know it is effective, to change North Koreans. And luckily, we have the networking in China and in North Korea, and when people they are exposed to the information, we could see kind of slightly their thought is changing, because when they have access to a new information, they think like they wonder at first because they never know about that kind of information, and then they begin to think, okay, what is that? So I cannot talk about this like because it's kind of confidential to the company, and I already left. But we conduct each survey and M&E process to know about our program, and we can see people are changing, although the change is kind of limited. Thank you.
Does anybody else want to comment on that? About have any of them been able to be in touch with people inside North Korea, other than being threatened? And if you want to answer in Korean or English, it's up to you, because he can translate, whatever you're comfortable with.
I can speak English.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a friend. She is working with North Korean. She's kind of a broker here in South Korea, not here. She showed me photos of letters, just handwriting letters from North Korea. She first just giving some information, and she is also North Korean defector, and she gives some information about South Korea, how I live in South Korea after I defected. She graduated college, and she is a journalist right now. and she is also a writer, and she just gives some like information little by little, and then at first time she said that they didn't believe it. They didn't believe, oh, that cannot be true. Like this, you are lying. You are lying to me. You want to controlling me, right? Like this. But after like a few months later, the person receiving like information is gradually changed. Like, and then she wrote like handwriting letters. That was so amazing. She said, I'm not sure it is true or not. Like, I can't believe like 100%, but I can feel like the difference, and I want to believe you. And then she said, I want some more information about South Korea, and then, but I cannot try to escape from North Korea because it is a great risk for my life and for my family. So I think the information like into North Korea is really important because they can change, and they not like change just overnight. It takes time, and gradually they will change. So like just for us to give some information into the North Korea. Thank you.
Ansuk wants to answer too. Come on, that's good. Yeah, that's fine.
So I think like the importance of the information print inside of North Korea is just, the above the word. It's kind of just, that's the truth, because North Korean people, defectors, are the evidence of the information the putting inside of North Korea. And I feel like, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Open Society, the organization which work about the putting information inside of the like Eastern Europe when they're under the communist regime. And I did the study of that organization, and their work were amazing at that time. They put the information into like such communist regime, and then their activities like putting information and news and some kind of the real fact about around the world and the Bible, the kind of the materials changed the people's perception at that time. And eventually now we are seeing that their country became democracy now. So that is not only the fact that they became a democracy, but that is one of the fact that how they became the democracy nowadays. So I would like to emphasize that the putting information inside of North Korea is very, very important. It's very essential. It's very essence. And then, but so far nowadays, the international communities and organization, they only focus on like putting information like kind of K-dramas and some entertainment things, because it is very subjective and a very dangerous subject. As a North Korean resident inside of North Korea, they are very afraid of, this is very risky to, receiving the outside information when it comes to like political issues and those kind of things. So I feel like the international communities and the organization, they need to find a way how we successfully and safely deliver the information inside of the North Korean region. And I know that Google has a technology, and those kind of the company has a technology. So they should find a way, whatever they hack the North Korea or whatever the materials and terminology or whatever like way. So we should find like a creative and then very advanced way of delivering information inside of North Korea. And I'm very thankful in this regard, the Susan Surtis, their organization, they are putting information inside of North Korea very widely, and they are delivering the USA and then CD, whatever, right? And if you guys take action from now, you guys can buy the USB from this organization, and that's gonna be delivered to North Korea directly. Thank you.
I didn't call on her to give us an advertisement, but I will mention we do have a program called Operation Truth. You can go online right now and you can order for delivery rice, Bibles, flash drives, radios, whatever you want to send to North Korea. It's like an Uber Eats menu, and we're delivering it. It's 100% financed by freedom-loving people, 100% carried out by North Korean defectors. It's called Operation Truth, and it's successfully delivered 4 tons of rice just over the last year. Not to count the thousands of leaflets and K-dramas too. And we got a new media player we're starting to send in. But anyway, Thank you. And it's modeled after Free North Korea Radio, which is also 100% financed by freedom-loving citizens and 100% carried out by North Korean escapees who are our great hope, which is what this program's about. So next question. This is a short question, but it's a very complicated one, okay? It's regarding, we keep hearing conflicting views. Kim Jong-un's about to collapse. Kim Jong-un's stronger than ever. So the question is Kim Jong-un stronger or weaker today from what they can view? And anybody would like to answer that? Oh, do you want to translate real quickly? Yeah. Anybody who'd like to, if anyone who wants to answer that, how you view this dictatorship. Is he stronger or is he weaker? Is he weaker? And you might be the one to answer that one. Okay.
As we all know, silence and isolation and dictatorship can last longer. I would say it's, getting weaker and weaker. But the regime is running through fear and reign of terror. So I believe this regime will end soon. But if we don't, help North Korean people inside, I would say it will take a little bit longer than we expect. And as we all know, the prison should be opened from the outside, not from the inside. So some people, like U.S. policymakers or activists here, should help them to open that door. I mean, I would say that is the key, probably the information. And then that information, hopefully, it will open the door for North Korean people. And I can say that I was part of the elite class, and I could be the Kim Jong-un's, assistant if I stay in North Korea. But we left. And I, hear from my friends, no one in the elite class now truly believe Kim Jong-un's leadership. And they experienced lots of, the executions, including his friends and the relatives. So the relationship between North Korean elites and Kim Jong-un are just in the shore. And then they are serving Kim Jong-un because of the fear, because of the concern of their family members' lives. So, if we really give some tips or help, I think most North Korean people will turn against the dictatorship and they want to find the freedom for themselves.
Okay. Does anybody else want to comment on that question? Anybody else? Okay. Okay, the next question is about the current situation regarding the refugees in China. We know out in the free world that that most of the people who are escaping now have been in China for some time. People are getting out of North Korea, but refugees in China and the people's ability to escape. And I know that we have a very brave woman in the audience whose niece got repatriated in that large group that was sent back in October a couple years ago. So comments on the refugees' ability to escape and the refugees in China. Anybody who'd like to answer that question?
I think the North Korean women, North Korean refugees in China, especially women, they experience almost human trafficking. That is very normal, like me. And then it's really hard to get out of there because Chinese government set up the surveillance cameras for everywhere, the train stations and airport, and then they use the technology recognizing the people's identity, for face and fingerprint, So it's really hard to get out of there, even though they have a will to get out of there, to escape there. And then like it's really getting hard and harder. And their life in China is really it is a tragedy. Even though like the North Korean women in China, they escaped to South Korea, but they left their children in China as well. So like even though they live like human with human dignities in South Korea, but they have a deeply grieving like the sadness because of their children. Like the family in China, they don't allow to see them, their children, and even some families just if you come to the China to see your children, I will refer you to the police. So they can't see the children, and then the children also cannot meet their mom. You know, that is a tragedy. So like I have friends, she was also lived in China for many years, and then she escaped without children. And then 10 years later, maybe her kids became adults, and then she came to South Korea to visit her mom. And once they met, they can't communicate because her mom left China 10 years ago, and then so she already forgot Chinese a lot. And then the kids were in China. She was only she could only speak Chinese. So even though they met, they can't communicate each other. So she called me, can you please translate the Chinese and language? Such a tragedy is it, right? So that is the reality in China. Please just remember them and keep that in mind when you are making the policy or something for human rights. Just don't forget North Korean defectors in China. Thank you.
I just want to briefly state that, as we all know, China is a very big country around the world, and they are growing, and they are trying to, try to read the country. But if they really want to be a model of the country in the world, and they want to be a leader in the world, they should take a responsibility on the human rights issues. They should stop the repatriating the North Korean defectors, which is very tragic, as we saw, like selling women, and then sending back to North Korea, even though they know that they're going to be dying or in the prison camp they're going to capture. What kind of the country of the leader around the world who wants to be leader of the world of doing that, those kind of the inhumane treatment to human? So I would like to just emphasize that one. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we have an event we do every year called Save North Korean Refugees Day, and we do it in September 24th, because that is the date that China signed the Refugee Convention, which obligates it not to repatriate anyone. And they violate that every time. But I think that the attention that people raising awareness about what's happening to the refugees is the reason why the last large repatriation happened on October 9th, 2003, because everybody was fixated on Hamas and Gaza and what happened in Israel. So I think the Chinese did that, that's when your niece got repatriated in the dead of night, because it was the largest repatriation. And I think it's because the Chinese knew they know what they're doing is evil. But also one other thing too, it's very important to realize that North Korean refugees are the only refugees in the world that have a place to go for immediate resettlement, because they're citizens of South Korea under the Republic of Korea Constitution. So what China's doing is not only violating their international treaty obligations, it's cruel and inhumane, and it's contributing to the killing and the torture of hundreds of people. So
Just
Yes,
add
sir.
one
Yeah.
information. During the COVID time, the North Korean embassy in Beijing and then consulates in Russia, they ran a prison cell there. So they captured those people who wanted to escape, and then once they're captured, they put them in the prison cell under the facility of the embassy and the consulates. So there's some witnesses already, came out of the country, and then they told it is really brutal. The interrogations and beatings, and those people who spend those prison cells for more than 2 years, and they almost stay in a malnutrition because they not get fit enough. So I just want to share this information.
And then another question about the current situation in South Korea. We all knew about the election that happened on June 3rd. We know that there was a president that was very, very supportive of the North Korean defector community. How do you view what's going to happen with the Lee administration? And that's open to anybody who wants to make a comment on that, because that's something that's, I know we just had North Korea Freedom Week. A lot of the defectors are really worried about what's going to happen to the North Korean human rights movement in South Korea. So if anybody wants to comment on the current Lee Jae-myung administration. And if you want to speak in Korean, have them translate whatever you're comfortable with.
I speak Korean.
Okay.
예. 아마 이재명 정권에서는 이제 북한과 만약에 대화를 하고 싶어 한다면 웬만하면 탈북민이라는 그 단어 자체를 언급하고 싶어 하지 않을 겁니다. 그래서 그리고 탈북민들이 나서서 뭔가를 하려고 하는 것 자체도 원하지 않을 거고요. 그러니까 기존에 있던 정책들이나 이런 것들은 웬만하면 유지할 수도 있다라고 저는 생각을 합니다. 일단 여기까지 먼저.
정책 유지면 민주당 정책 유지 말씀.
아니요, 기존에 일단 탈북민에 관한 정책들이요. 국가
정부에서 이어져오는 걸 유지합니다.
예, 뭐 기존부터 쭉 이어왔던 모든 정부.
So first of all, if the Lee Jae-myung administration were to pursue a conversation or any kind of summit with the North Korea, it is highly likely that the Lee administration will refrain from mentioning the terminology indicating North Korean escapees or North Korean defectors because they don't want to get controversial. Also, at the same time, perhaps the administration might discourage North Korean defectors in South Korea from leading any kind of movement or any kind of activities in South Korea as well. So right now, it is highly likely that the Lee Jae-myung administration might just try to maintain the previous North Korean policy carried out by the previous administration for now.
그 대신에 이제 이재명 정부는 아마 이제 북한과 계속 대화를 하기 위해서 탈북민이라는 단어를 서서히 잊혀지도록 하게 될 것 같습니다. 제가 생각하기에는 결국 그렇게 되면 사람들의 기억 속에 잊혀지게 되면 탈북민들에 대한 어떤 측은지심도 표로 이어지지 않기 때문에 그들은 과감없이 약자들을 버릴 것 같습니다. 그래서 결국에 그 끝이 만약에 민주당 정부나 아니면 그 이재명 정부의 그 후견인들, 그러니까 후계자들, 그들이 계속 정권을 이어받게 되면 그 끝에는 약자들이 다 소외되고 또 그리고 약자를 가장한 강자들이 이제 전국을 주도하게 될 것 같습니다. 네, 이상입니다.
Also, understanding that the Lee Jae-myung administration will continue to, again, pursue conversation with North Korea, the chances are that the Lee administration might try to eradicate the term North Korean defectors or escapees in any kind of public discourse in South Korea, because they want to gradually eradicate that terminology in South Korea to ensure that many perhaps South Korean citizens would not have any kind of sympathy, because when you not talk about them, it is obviously that many people stop thinking about the situations of North Korean defectors or North Koreans, but in reality, this could be perceived as abandoning the weak in the public society. However, the Lee administration will continue to ostracize these North Korean defectors who are the weak in the society by pushing them aside.
I can't speak English well, so I want to speak Korean.
That's fine.
So, yeah.
That's why he's here. He's got your back.
네. 네. 이어서 말씀드리려고 하는데 저는 이재명 정부에서는 북한에 대한 정책 자체가 김정은과의 평화 통일을 추구하는 방향이다 보니까 탈북민들을 별로 달가워하지 않는 것 같습니다. 일단 이재명 정부가 있기 이전에 같은 민주당 정권이었던 문재인 정권에서 해상 탈북을 했던 탈북민 2명을 북송시켰던 것과 마찬가지로 최근에도 탈북민 6명이 공해상에서 표류를 하다가 대한민국으로 오게 되었는데 그들을 북한으로 돌려보냈습니다. 물론 그 이유는 그들이 북한에 가고 싶다고 발언을 하였다고 하는데 이재명 대통령이 진정한 한국의 대통령이라면 우리나라의 헌법상 대한민국의 헌법상 대한민국 주민인 그들의 탈북민 6명을 북한에 돌려보내기보다는 목숨을 걸고라도 어떠한 방식을 취해서라도 지켜서 그들이 돌아가겠다고 말을 했던 이유 자체가 고향에 남겨진 가족들에 대한 어떤 걱정 때문에 그랬을 것이 분명하기 때문에 그들을 지켜냈어야 하는 게 맞다고 생각이 들고요. 현재에도 통일부를 이름 자체를 없애서 평화 관련된 평화부 이상한 어떤 호칭을 만들려고 하는 거랑 또 이재명 정부의 국무총리가 탈북민들을 향해서 반도자라고 해서 비판을 받았던 것처럼 그들은 탈북민들을 적대시하는 정책들을 앞으로도 많이 만들어낼 것이고 실제로도 탈북민들과 관련된 어떤 통일부 예산이 많이 줄어들고 있습니다. 이 점을 꼭 말씀드리고 싶었습니다.
So first of all, knowing that the Lee administration will try to pursue a policy so-called peaceful unification, if you look at the previous Democratic administration, Moon Jae-in administration, as you guys might know very well, they forcibly sent back the 2 North Korean defectors who defected by boat. And a couple of weeks ago, news came out that about 6 North Korean escapees arrived in South Korea. Although it was accidental and although they stated that these defectors wanted to go back to North Korea. However, if Lee Jae-myung, President Lee, truly genuinely cares about the South Korean constitution and his constitutional obligations, Lee should have really stepped up trying to protect these refugees because it is highly likely that these 6 defectors wanted to go back to North Korea because they really worried about the safety of their family members left in North Korea. The other thing is so the administration is trying to also rename the Unification Ministry, has something in the line of peace ministry or something like that, and also the current prime minister of the Lee administration in the past also mentioned North Korean defector as some kind of traitors to the Kim regime. And last but not least, also the Lee administration is trying to really reduce the budget for the current unification ministry, but also the chances are they're going to really come up with some anti-North Korean defector policy in South Korea.
Chinese drone. No, just kidding.
So after the Moon Jae-in, after the new president in South Korea placed, and I just, I got an idea after that, and I published that idea on the Immigration Institute, and I just want to share that article with you guys briefly. And that article was about a third-born countries, born in China, and those children a regular state in South Korea and in China, because they are not the third-born country children, North Korean defectors, third-born country children, they do not recognize as a North Korean defector in South Korea. So they excluded from the educational support and well-being services from South Korea. That means they discriminated among the North Korean defectors, the South Korean government tried to, divide which one is a North Korean defector, which one can get access of some kind of the certain services. So I thought that was very problematic because the third born country children, they are also North Korean defector, and especially someone who born in China, they are very resource for the North Korean unification, not North Korean unification, Korea unification, because they're gonna be bridge between China and Korea, and they're gonna help the Korean unification inside of the China. So I believe that they are very valuable resources for future Korea, but the South Korean government do not recognize them as North Korean defector, and they are struggling inside down in the South Korea. So this is a very tragedy. So I address that the South Korean government should adopt them as a North Korean defector and provide more regular, support and any kind of the support. But because of the uncertainty of the future of the North Korean defectors policy, because of this new regime, they are not favorable for the North Korean human rights issues. So I'm concerned about that. Their futures in South Korea as well. But the good part is the previous government, they passed the law toward the third-born country children, their educational support. But they made it, but because of the new government, their peaceful relation, their desire about relationship with North Korea is uncertainty. So we should look at that and what kind of action they're going to take, and then we should push they would really take the action about this new law. Thank you.
Yeah, as you can see, a lot of people, they are concerned about the new administration when it comes to North Korean human rights. But just for the kind of balance, we can criticize the government since we have the freedom of expression, right? Some North Koreans, recently 6 people, they were repatriated back to North Korea, and they said they wanted to go, back, by the media. And also, a lot of people were repatriated during the liberal government. But between the former conservative government, like Park Geun-hye and Lee Jae-myung, people out of 202 people who were rescued on the sea, 139 people also were repatriated. So this kind of information, of course, we can say it is true, the conservative government is more favorable to North Korean human rights, but also the liberal government has a role because last government, they also included separated family issues to North Korean human rights. The family were separated during the Korean War. But the thing is that during the administration, no family could meet each other. Their family is in North Korea. But the family reunion events, the 90% of the events, that happened during the liberal administration, because they tried to engage more with North Korea. So I can say I'm not just praising the liberal government or I'm not criticizing the conservative government, but what I want to say is that each government has its role, in terms of developing the life of North Koreans and in terms of helping North Korean human rights. So since we have the freedom of expression, we should pay attention to this new government and, to make more work for North Korean human rights.
So those are all, one more quick question, and I know the Colonel wants to say a few words. Yes.
So we all know agree to disagree, and that's why we love this group, and we have different opinions and different ideas, but everybody has a heart to, for the North Korean people. So I hope you guys understand.
Yeah, this is kind of a joke, but I was emailing with Otto Warmbier's mom a couple days ago about this big conference coming up in October, and she was asking about the South Korean government, whether she should go. And I said, I don't know. For me, it's either they want to give me an award or they want to put me in jail. I just like, and I'm not kidding. Anyway, that's all the questions that we had. I know Colonel Maxwell wanted to make a comment, and since I'm an Army mom, I've got to have this Army colonel come say a few words. So, Colonel Maxwell, a dear friend and colleague.
So I was thinking for the Uber Eats menu.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
We need
adding.
I wanted a category though to add for your bail money after
sir.
they arrest you, so we can bail you out. The words you heard today were the greatest example of freedom of expression. I think is really tremendous. And what I learned about North Korea comes from these people and people like them, and it is the best source of information to understand. And I just want to make a couple points though. For the last 4 decades, our policies, both South Korea and the U.S., have failed towards North Korea. The U.S. were focused on denuclearization, and we failed. And South Korea, through the liberal administrations, have been focused on engagement, and engagement has failed. And after the Sunshine Policy and Peace and Prosperity Policy, what happened in 2006? North Korea detonated their first nuclear weapon. So our policies have failed, and we should recognize that. We should also recognize nobody is going to get a Nobel Peace Prize for denuclearization. But you will win a Nobel Peace Prize if you free the Korean people in the North and achieve unification, a free and unified Korea. That's where the Nobel Peace Prize will come. We need a new strategy. I call it the 2+3 strategy. We need to prevent war, number one. We need to strangle the North Korean regime. And then we need 3 solid pillars of human rights upfront approach, a sophisticated information program to get information into North Korea, and we need to pursue a free and unified Korea. Let me just say this. In terms of the strength of Kim Jong-un, it is a paradox. He is getting stronger every day from his support to Russia and support from China, yet the regime is brittle. And one thing we should remember is that, answer this question, who is Kim Jong-un more afraid of? The United States military and the South Korean military, or the Korean people in the North? And the fact is, he's more afraid of the Korean people than he is of the American military. That is why information is so important. From a human rights perspective, we should remember one thing. Article 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that all people have the right to self-determination of government. The Korean people in the South just exercise self-determination. Like it or not, whoever they elected, they had the freedom to elect the president of their choice. The Korean people in the North have never had that right. And that is why I would end with these 12 words. 12 words to think about the future. Unification first, then denuclearization, and the path to unification is through human rights. Please remember those words. Thank you.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do next. I want to do a photo with all of them and all of you that would like to be in it. And we did have a couple people that weren't able to speak because of concerns about their safety, because we're recording this and live streaming it. That is the difficulty if you've escaped from North Korea. The suffering and the torment that is ongoing if you have family members that are still there that will be disappeared if they find out that they spoke out. So they weren't able to speak publicly. But I want to thank all of you for being here to hear from these amazing, brilliant young people that are North Korea's future. And just a reminder, if you work for a member of Congress, we are gathering Korean Liberation Day messages. And if you're interested in our trip that we're going to do the refugee camps of the Western Sahara, Sahara refugee camps later on this fall, let me know. You guys have my contact information. With that, let's give another warm ovation for these people, and then we're going to bring chairs up and get a picture with them. Yes. Thank you. Apogee Chayabakan. Okay, thank you. Can we get a picture with you? Yeah, sure. Okay. James, we'll do it near the flag. Okay. I'm going to. Yeah. We'll just. Why don't I have you guys have our brilliant hope. Yes, a chair for each of you. We're going to stand behind you. How's that sound? That would be good? Yep. You guys sit down and we'll get behind you. Yeah, all of you guys. Anybody who wants to be in it? Yeah, oh, Johnny, Kenji.
Please show solidarity. Freedom in North Korea.
All our delegates are beautiful. Yeah, there we go. Okay, anybody wants to get a picture? The delegation in front?